Did you know that, just like people, organizations can also get discouraged? In this Maxpoint Organizations module, Dr. Frank Banfill shares 5 reasons for organizational discouragement and what to do about it.
Hi, Dr. Frank Banfill here. I'm talking to you today about organizational discouragement. Did you know that an organization, just like a person, can become discouraged? Yeah, you do. You've seen that probably in places that you've worked, organizations that you've been a part of. Organizations can become discouraged just like people become discouraged. Well, and just like people, if you stay in that discouragement too long, it greatly hinders everything in your life, right? It hinders your ability to have in your relationships. It hinders your ability to be successful, to push forward. So the same thing is true with organizations. When organizations become discouraged, which means the people within that organization becomes discouraged, it can become very difficult to move forward and accomplish anything meaningful. So I want to share with you 5 causes today of discouragement. And then I'm going to give you a tool to help you work through these areas of discouragement. All right, you ready? Number 1, the first cause of discouragement is physical fatigue. Same thing that's true in our personal lives is true in our organizations. When you are physically fatigued, it's very easy to become discouraged. Same thing is true with organizations. When people are pushed and pushed and pushed and they're running and running and running, and there seems like there's an endless amount of tasks and they can never get it all done in a day, and all of those things add to fatigue. They get fatigued, and the organization then can become discouraged because our people are discouraged. So if they're running too hard, too fast, for too long, we'll get discouraged. Second reason for organizational discouragement is a foggy vision. Foggy vision. You ever try to drive in the fog? It's terrible, especially if you're on a freeway and you know there are a lot of cars around you, but you have to be so careful and you're looking, and it just wears on you. Well, when you have a foggy vision as a company, it becomes very discouraging. And so you want a clear vision. You want people to clearly know what's going on, where you're headed, why you're headed, what your purpose is, and very, very clear goals, very clear objectives. All of that helps to clear the air so that you can see better. But if you have a foggy vision, your organization can become discouraged. Third is a loss of confidence. When we begin to lose confidence in ourselves and our abilities, we get discouraged. Maybe there's some things that happened in your organization. Maybe you didn't get that big job that you were trying to land that big client, whatever it might be. And so there's a loss of confidence because of that. Well, a loss of confidence will encourage discouragement. Number 4, a lack of security. Just the same thing in our life. We get discouraged when we feel like there's just not the security in place that we need. You know, as an individual, that security may be a job, it may be relationships, it may be certain things that help us feel secure and taken care of. Well, the same thing happens in organizations. When your people are walking around in fear of losing their jobs, fear of what they say, fear of that, this, and there's no sense of security, there becomes a great discouragement. So the more fear that's in the organization, the more discouragement that you're going to see. And honestly, you may actually lose employees as a result of that because they want to be a place where they feel secure. And then the fifth cause of organizational discouragement is the absence of a plan. We get discouraged when we don't know what we're doing. We get discouraged when we see 1,000 different things that need to be done, but we don't know any way how to tackle those things. We don't know how to go about addressing those 1,001 things. All of those things will encourage discouragement in your organization. So how do you overcome that? Well, let me give you a discouragement plan chart that you can use to help you overcome discouragement in your organization. All right? So in this column, we're going to write the word fatigue. First column, we have the word fatigue. The second column, we have the word fog. Third column, we have the word failure. The fourth column is the word fear. And the last column is the word feet. All right? So we have our 5 columns. So this is a chart to help you overcome organizational discouragement. So in this first column, let's think about fatigue. What are some things that we can do as an organization to help fatigue? Well, maybe we need to reassign people, right? Maybe we got people in the wrong place, we've got too much going on, maybe we need to pull back certain projects or whatever. What is causing our fatigue and wearing people out? So try to identify what that is. Maybe it's, we're just overloaded, we're understaffed, whatever that is, but look and see what are those pressure points that's causing fatigue. And then what about the fog? What can you do to address the fog? How can you bring clarity to whatever it is you're doing? So jot down some things. Here are some things that we can do to clear the fog. Maybe that simply is communicating or recommunicating the vision. Maybe it's spending extra time meeting with certain teams, certain groups within your organization, but is doing things to help clear that fog. And then failure. You know, one of the best ways of overcoming failure? One of the best ways of overcoming failure is to think about your successes. So in this column where it says failure, I want you to start writing down some of your top successes. Revisit those successes, celebrate those successes, celebrate them with your team, remind them, talk about them often, think about those successes. That will help you overcome whatever failure may have been there. And then fear. What are the reasons people may be fearful in your organization? So identify those. You may even want to talk to people. You hear people kind of acting like they're fearful. Find out, why are they fearful? Get the word, see what's going on. Identify those. And then the last column over here is the column for feet. In other words, what are the steps that I need to take to address whatever it is? So if it's fatigue, how do I address this? If it's this foggy point, okay, I need to communicate, well, how am I going to do that? If it's we want to celebrate our success, great. How am I going to do that? What's the action step that allow me to celebrate that? What about this fear, this 1, 2, 3 areas of fear that our people are facing? Okay, how do I take action to deal with that? Here's the thing. Organizations get discouraged just like people get discouraged. But you have a choice to live in that discouragement, or you have a choice to lead out of that discouragement. Here's a great little plan, great little chart that you can use to help lead your organization out of discouragement. I'm Dr. Frank Banfill, and I'm challenging you to maximize your organization. Have an organization that reaches its max point, makes the greatest impact possible, even in times of discouragement. You can push through it, lead through it, and you can be successful.